So my mom is a music teacher, which meant that growing up I ended up watching a lot of musicals when I was little, which led to a general disdain for musicals as I grew from a little kid to a rebellious youth. I don't hate all musicals, I just could never really get over the people bursting into song for no reason. I found that extremely annoying and unrealistic. I find it works a lot better in cartoons generally, but for the most part, not a fan. I really hate when characters just burst into song for no reason and they're just singing for 3 minutes when they could be getting on with the story. Musical numbers are a lot like action sequences in that they shouldn't be there for no reason and should actually be used to develop the characters in some way or at least drive the story forwards. But for some reason, more often than not, musicals just have musical numbers to have musical numbers. Like, it's great that the rock trolls are happy that Reindeer Boy brought a girl home, but we don't have time for this shit. Anna's gonna die if we don't get her heart unfrozen. Jeez. In a weird twist, I actually don't mind operas, because in those the characters are singing all the time, so the writers are forced to tell the story through song. In a weird way, it's less annoying than in musicals, where the story's happening and then they stop it to do a song. But in operas, the story just progresses through each scene, like a movie. With musicals, more often than not, a song will end and I'm like, yeah, you probably could have cut that. And if you can cut a scene, you probably should. Ever notice that there's way less musical numbers in the second half of most Disney movies? You know, once the story kicks in, it's almost as if you don't even need them to tell the story. So since this year marks the release of 14 live-action Disney movies, I thought it would be a good time to revisit some of the classics that were good enough to remake in the first place, and grade them using an arbitrary rating system that I made up. How my rating system works is I take a look at the number of musical numbers that progress the overall story and weigh them against the total number of musical numbers in the film. Then I give the movie a grade out of 5 stars because a bad movie with good songs is still a bad movie. And then I award bonus points for any songs that are really like stand out and memorable. Because I feel like if you're doing a musical, the songs have to be fucking amazing to justify them existing at all. So for example, Frozen has 7 songs, only like 4 of which really progress the story. And the only real standouts are Do You Want to Build a Snowman, Love is an Open Door, and Let It Go. So that plus I'd probably give it 3 stars since it's a decent movie, which adds up to its grand total of 11.7 points. Make any sense? No? Too bad, we're moving on. Now I don't have time to review every Disney movie that has ever existed, so I thought I'd stick to the Disney Renaissance era films. That's the movies that came out from 1989 to 1999. This era is considered to be one of the greatest in Disney animation, so I thought it would be a good place to start. Also, I'm not going to talk about The Rescuers Down Under, which did come out during this time, but it's a sequel, so I kind of feel like its own thing, so we're just going to not talk about it. Lindsay Ellis has already covered all of these movies in much greater detail than I ever could. This isn't like some kind of deep analysis of each film, this is just some of my general first impressions and whether or not I think they succeeded as a musical. So yeah, without further ado, let's see what the best of Disney has to offer. Blammo, here we go. Alright, first up, 1989's The Little Mermaid. This one I think I watched the longest ago, so bear with me if I don't remember it all that well. There's 6 songs, which is kind of a lot, but there's only one that's really completely worthless. The one where Sebastian is like, there's a song with him and some chef. Completely cut that out. And there's 4 standouts, which is pretty good. Part of Your World is one of the best I Want songs, and Poor Unfortunate Souls is one of the best villain songs. Kiss the Girl and Under the Sea are also really good. At the time, Disney hadn't really made a great animated movie in a while, so this one really kind of set the bar high and re-established Disney as like an animation studio to be reckoned with. This movie also establishes the formula that the rest of these movies follow. You start with a Happy Village song, then you have an I Want song, then you do a villain song to establish the bad guy, then you do a love song somewhere in the middle, and then you end it somewhere.
That just gave us more determination to prove that you could build a better story.
All of these beats are very present here, but the thing is, when they're done well, they work. And they work in this movie. This movie definitely has its flaws. There's like 3 too many animal sidekicks. Ariel doesn't even talk for like half the movie, so her character kind of just becomes, look, a fork! And the prince is really bland. Though I do like that he's played by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who voiced Spider-Man in the 90s animated series.
You seem very familiar. to me. I'm a character in fiction? Yep, and I'm an actor who plays you on TV.
But what this movie kind of lacks in character development, it makes up for in emotion. Part of your world is fucking great. The animation throughout this movie is top notch. Ariel's hair is all pretty and underwater, and it's just really good. It's not perfect, but when it works, it really works. So that's 5 out of 6 songs with 4 standouts, and I give this movie 4 stars, with a grand total of 16 points, which is pretty good. Alright, next up, Beauty and the Beast from 1991. For this one, I'm counting the reprises as part of the same song, which means that this one has 6 songs in total. I also ended up watching the special edition, which is not this version, which I think has an extra song in it. There is some song where the furniture is singing.
A spectacular all-new musical number.
When we reviewed the film itself, we found this one song called Human Again that never made it in.
Total garbage. Can cut that out. But that's not in this version, which is, I assume, which is the original one. And, which means that all the songs are good. So we're off to a good start. You could probably cut Be Our Guests, because it doesn't really add that much to the story. But it's a classic. I get it. Can stay. And this movie does a really good job of telling the story through the songs. The first few songs establish the characters, and then the later ones kind of montage through different emotional beats that, you know, develop the relationships of the characters. Sometimes it's kind of cheesy, but it also works. The Beast is definitely the best character in this movie until the end when he turns into boring. But I get it, that's just a symptom of the plot. Can't really do anything that would make it better. Except for Shrek, which has the better ending. This movie also has Gaston, who is one of the best Disney villains because he's the hero of his own story. He's not just evil because he's evil, he thinks he's the hero, which is what makes him so much more interesting than a lot of the other villains. And the end rooftop fight of this movie is great and dramatic and the perfect conclusion to all the characters, stories, and arcs and everything. Good stuff all around. So yeah, 6 out of 6 songs, 4 standouts, Belle, the Gaston, Be Our Guest, and of course Beauty and the Beast. And I give this one 4 stars for a total of 18 points. Next up, Aladdin from 92. There's a reason this one is being remade, because it's really good, and people like it a lot. The main dude is likable but flawed. The princess is proactive and fun and really cool. The villain is great, and Robin Williams is Robin Williams. What's not to like? Including reprises, there are 7 songs in this one, which all move the plot forward. Plus some of the songs are like super short, which is great. They don't waste your time at all. It's been said 1,000 times before, but Robin Williams as the genie is terrific and adds so much heart to this movie. The character was designed specifically for him and specifically for the format of animation. So I'm really kind of sad that they're even attempting to recreate that magic with Will Smith. It worked because of Robin Williams and because it was animated. Kind of hard to recreate that without those two things. I don't know what else to say. This one's pretty good. The only real flaw I have is Jafar, who already has magic and can mind control the king. So why does he need the genie? Looks like he's pretty much got everything he needs without him. Just saying. Yeah, other than that, it's pretty good. 7 out of 7 songs, 4 standouts, which are the opening song with Aladdin, the Genie song, Prince Ali, and A Whole New World. Those are all really good. Oh yeah, and then I give this, 4 stars. So that adds up to 18 points, which is, good. Lion King, 1994. Yep, this is everyone's favorite. That's why they're remaking it. They're just doing a shot-for-shot remake, too. They don't even know what to do differently. Because it's already good. It only has 5 songs, and they all progress the story, and they're all fucking classics. Circle of Life, Can't Wait to Be King, Be Prepared, Hakuna Matata, Can You Feel the Love Tonight. All bangers. Yes, it's a ripoff of Hamlet and Kimba the White Lion, but who cares? All the other Disney movies are ripoffs of stuff. Whatever. This was the first time anyone did Cinderella. Yeah, okay. It's a good story, and that's why it works. It's kind of the perfect hero's journey. There's not really much wrong with it. I guess you could say like Timon and Pumbaa are kind of goofy and cheesy, but they're not overtly annoying. They don't really take away from the story at any point, so I don't really have a problem with them. And that's about it. James Earl Jones plays a ghost dad. More do you want? 5 out of 5 songs, all standouts. I gotta give it 5 stars because I literally can't really think of anything that I don't like about this movie. So, 20 points. Alright, 1995's Pocahontas. Finally, a movie where Mel Gibson isn't the most racist thing on screen. So when I was like 15, I did this LIT program at a summer camp. My favorite memory from the whole year was one of the kids from my group and our pastor got into this intense yelling match about whether or not the song Savages from this movie was about 2 armies fighting or 2 conflicting angry mobs. Now that I've finally seen the movie, I can confirm it is indeed 2 armies. There's even a line in the song about the drums of war, so... Sorry. So I haven't really been paying close attention to the source material for any of these movies, and just kind of been hoping that they can stand on their own merit. But this one is really hard to ignore. Whitewashing fairy tales and literature is one thing, but when it's actual history and real people that lived, it's kind of fucked up. I try not to think about it, but this movie is just so over-romanticized that I couldn't get over it. Pocahontas' love stops the fighting and the English just leave? Good work. We did it. Colonization solved. Yay! Good work, Disney. You did it. We did it. We erased hundreds of years of genocide. Good work. I know the history. It's not what happened. Even ignoring all of that, you're left with a shitty romance movie between a boring Barbie doll and a boring Mel Gibson. The 2 leads don't have a fraction of the personality or relatability that Aladdin and Jasmine or Belle and the Beast had. They're just bland. Most of the songs here do progress the plot to some extent. The only really memorable ones are Around the River Bend, Colors of the Wind, and Savages. The rest are extremely forgettable. There was this one song that her grandma Tree sang to her that I completely forgot about as soon as I was done watching the movie. I had to go through my notes a couple times because I'm like, I could have swore there was another song, but I just completely forgot about it. And you could probably also cut the villain song about gold, because who cares? Savages is a bit on the nose, but Riverbend and Colors of the Wind are genuinely good. Kinda wish they were in a better movie. I do like the one Luke looking at the sun moment when she comes around the riverbend and there's the 2 paths of the river. I thought that was good. The animal sidekicks are like weirdly comical for this mostly serious movie. And even though this movie does have occasionally interesting themes, Moana did it better. Avatar even did it better. Pocahontas isn't necessarily a bad musical, but it is bad. 5 out of the 7 songs progress the story. 3 of them are standouts, and I give it 2 stars. Total of 12 points. 1996, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Ooh, too soon? This movie is actually really interesting, but also the perfect example of why I hate musicals. The movie starts out very promising. The first few musical numbers are good at establishing characters and the setting and progressing the story along. And Esmeralda is one of the most interesting female characters of any of the Disney movies. And the villain, holy shit, this dude is super complex and interesting. His motivations are rooted in religion and sin and lust and like all these like intense, dark, mature themes. He's like a very complex and interesting character. And there's some really dark and mature stuff throughout this movie, but it's all handled really well. But right when the movie is really getting going towards the end of the second act, they hit you with 2 fucking goofy ass, worthless musical numbers back to back. One with the gargoyles and one with this random gypsy clown guy that do nothing for the story, and by this point I just completely tuned out. The gargoyle characters are just super annoying and not funny and not entertaining. And at first they kind of just suggest that they're just part of Quasimodo's imagination, but then they like fight soldiers at the end battle. So what the heck is going on there? It just makes the whole ending just feel like a tonal mess, and same with like a lot of this movie, unfortunately. This movie has the same ending as Beauty and the Beast as well, only that movie did it much, much better. I was also pretty tuned out by the time we even got to the ending, so by that point I was just basically like, what is even happening right now? My main problem with this movie is how the musical numbers deflate the tension and the pacing of the story. The movie is like really starting to pick up. Frollo's just burning people's houses down, and then, oh no, we gotta listen to some fucking clown sing about nonsense for 3 minutes. Thanks, movie. I just want to watch the story. Why are you sabotaging this? It's good. I'm liking it. Why are you cutting away from it? Go back to the good stuff. This throws off the pacing so much that I'm just completely taken out of the experience and for the rest of the runtime. It's like that stupid ass rock troll scene all over again. Gotta save Anna! Fun and upbeat songs can work earlier in a musical, but they usually don't put them towards the end, because that's when the story is happening. Unless it's some kind of villain song, you don't need any musical numbers in the end, because you kind of don't need them at all. There's 9 songs in this one, which is a lot, not including reprises. Hellfire is great, and Notre Dame is also really good. Those are kind of the 2 standouts. You can completely cut the 2 that I already talked about. I mean, 7 out of 9 songs, 2 standouts, and I give this one 3 stars for coming so close to being good, for a total of 12 points. 1997's Hercules. This is the year I was born. That's fun. I kind of like this one. So this one tries to do a thing. This movie came out in the 90s. So this movie uses Hercules as a way to kind of comment on the deification of like superstar athletes that was happening at this time. So instead of Hercules feeling like a timeless Disney classic, it feels like it came out in the 90s. But hey, Air Hercs, do you get it? Do you get it? It's like do you get it? It's definitely kind of weird. I think the movie still kind of works. About halfway through, they start introducing that like superstar action figure Air Herc stuff, but then they kind of move away from that by the end of the second act, and they're back to just standard hero's journey beats, which is also kind of annoying in a weird way, because the movie's a straight up Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, Superman Jesus Rocky ripoff. I don't know, kind of does. Here's the hero's journey you've seen 1,000 times. I mean, the reason we've been telling that story forever is because it's compelling and it works. The problem with this movie is it doesn't quite become its own thing, nor does it quite do the hero's journey perfectly, so it doesn't quite work either way. In a weird way, some of the Air Herc stuff is the most interesting thing in the movie, because it's trying to say something, and it's, you know, doing a different spin on stuff. The movie also uses like gospel choir music, which doesn't really make sense for like a Christian-based genre of music to focus on a Greek hero, but for some reason it's kind of different enough that it sort of works. And with some of that mixing of styles and anachronisms, this movie starts to kind of feel like it has its own identity, but then it also goes back to just doing the generic hero's journey. It doesn't fully commit to either side, so it feels kind of messy. In some ways, I wish it would have gone more to the weird kind of Michael Jordan stuff, because then they might have had more of something to say. But then at the same time, I kind of wish that this was just a timeless classic like the rest of these movies. There are 6 songs total here, counting the first 3 like choir sections as part of the same song. All of them pretty much move the story forwards. I mean, you could probably cut the Danny DeVito song because Danny DeVito cannot sing, but I mean, at least it's a training montage, so at least it is moving the story forward a little bit. Oh yeah, and young Hercules is played by Josh Keaton, who voiced Spectacular Spider-Man, so that's another Spider-Man actor who's in a Disney movie.
The future depends on you.
My future is meaningless without her.
And everyone else's future can go hang?
Big standout songs are Zero to Hero and I Can Go the Distance. I Can Go the Distance is pretty standard I Want song. And Zero to Hero is really fun and cool and different. So 5 out of 6 songs, 2 standouts, 3 stars, 13 points overall. Not terrible. Next up, 1998's Mulan. This is a movie I actually think that they should remake, because it is so close to being great. Some of this movie is really, really good. Mulan and her whole arc, having to disguise herself as a boy to join the army. One of the most interesting Disney princesses of the lot. And I really like the world and the mythology and everything about, you know, ancient China and all of that stuff is really cool and fun. The training montages are great and the sword fights are cool. Also, Mulan is played by Ming-Na Wen from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Street Fighter movie. But the villain is pretty weak and the story never feels as epic as it wants to be. There's this really cool scene where the bad guy army is like charging down this hill and they're just overwhelmingly massive compared to the small group of heroes that we've been following. And it's just this like epic horses and crazy shit and you're like, oh shit, how are they gonna get out of this one? And then Mulan just shoots a firework and they all get wiped out by an avalanche. Oh, we did it. That was easy. Feels like a cop-out in a lot of ways. There is an end fight after that. It's okay, but it just doesn't feel as epic as it could. Mulan is a cool character, and I just want to see her be cool in a better movie. There's also this thing where Eddie Murphy plays the comedic sidekick dragon character. And yeah, some of the other ones had comedic sidekick characters like Danny DeVito. But this one just feels really obvious that they're trying to do a genie thing, and it doesn't have the same just lightning in a bottle that the genie was. That's another kind of weird thing too, is there's like some mysticism in this movie, but not too much, because I guess it's, you know, still based on history. I almost wish it would have gone more in that direction, because like maybe if the villain was more like Jafar, where he used magic and stuff, he'd be really cool and scary, but he's just kind of like an angry looking dude. There's only 4 songs in this one, which is nice. One of them where the guys sing about a girl worth fighting for. Completely cut that one. And only 2 of the remaining songs are standouts, being Reflection and Be a Man. Although both of those songs are fucking great. Really, really love the training stuff with Mulan at the military camp. And also that moment when she decides that she's going to disguise herself as a boy. Do her best to honor her family. It's really, really cool stuff. I really think if you had the right people behind this movie and had really cool action and a more fleshed out villain and focused on, you know, really fleshing out this world and these characters, I think you could make a really, really awesome Mulan movie. But they'll probably fuck it up somehow. 3 or 4 songs, 2 standouts, 3.5 stars for 13 points total. Lastly, 1999's Tarzan. This one's kind of interesting because it's not so much a musical as it is a movie with Phil Collins music in it. But whatever, the characters sing a little bit, so I'm going to count it. Ironically, this is the movie that has the most organic uses of singing. Tarzan's Ape Mom sings a lullaby for a little bit, which is like a reason to be singing. But that only happens for like 5 seconds, and then it's like, nope, back to the Phil Collins song. Fortunately, this style forces the animation team to have to keep telling the story through the music. Mostly through montages, but montages progress the plot, so I'm okay with it. The only song here that you could definitely cut is the shooby-doo-wop, like scatting, that song. Doesn't really add anything to the story, you can cut that. But again, also the most organic song to happen, where the characters just kind of decide to play music. The movie also does suffer a little bit from variety. You better like Phil Collins, because that's all you're getting here. After a while, some of the songs kind of blend together, so there isn't really any that stand out from each other. I Want to Know, but really take your pick at any of these. This film is okay. It's the first to really use those 3D backgrounds with animated characters really, really effectively. Some of the stuff where Tarzan's like swinging around and sliding on tree trunks and vines and all that shit looks great. And there's some genuinely cool action sequences where they're being chased by baboons and when he has to fight the cheetah. Both really cool scenes. The villain is kind of weak. He's just kind of a generic, greedy British guy. And the ending is kind of rushed. Also, some of the characters don't get as developed as well as they could be. Like Tarzan's ape dad, who gets like 3 scenes maybe. Overall, I like it, but I think we could have used a little more time on these characters. It's 5 songs total, not including reprises, which is a good number. 4 of the 5 are good, so that works out. 1 standout, because pick one. And I give it 3.5 stars, because it's getting there. For a total of 12.5 points. And so, the official Disney Renaissance film ranking goes: number 9, Pocahontas. Number 8, Hunchback of Notre Dame. 7, Tarzan. Number 6, Hercules. Number 5, Mulan. Number 4, The Little Mermaid. Number 3, Beauty and the Beast. Number 2, Aladdin. And number 1, The Lion King. Obviously, the first half of the decade generally turned out a lot better, the second half being a little more hit and miss. But overall, not bad. I was pleasantly surprised with most of these movies. Most of these are being remade now to some extent, which I understand why. They're all beloved classics, and they're really good, which is why you should probably just watch the originals. Most of them hold up, and they're pretty good movies. Don't really need to remake them. In terms of musicals, most of these are really, really good. There isn't that many songs that don't progress the plot. Some of the movies do have a lot of songs, but usually they're pretty short. So in general, they don't waste your time and focus on telling the story. Like a movie. Most of these are good, and it sucks that Disney's remaking them. Or at least if they're gonna be remaking movies, remake the ones that weren't quite perfect. Stuff like Mulan and Hunchback that had really good stuff in them, but weren't quite as executed as well as they could be. Also, where's the Atlantis and Treasure Planet movies? Those two are chock full of great ideas that just need better execution. In any case, I had fun doing this. It's one of my goals this year to force myself to watch more movies that I haven't already seen. And in terms of musicals, I've seen a lot worse. I hope you enjoy my arbitrary rating system, because that's the official ranking for all of these movies from now on. You just gotta deal with it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like this, you can subscribe for more videos. In the description you can find a link to the script of this video, which I have up on a site called Vocal. I have the script for this video up there, as well as a bunch of other stuff that are basically scripts for other videos that I don't have time to make. I don't know, it's new. I'm trying it out. That's about it. You see the new Aladdin with Mr. Prince of Bel-Air. What did you think? Comes out today. If I finish this on time, let me know in the comments. Give Will Smith the hand job.